I wonder what you thought of that which you've just heard. We heard from Sir John Major earlier in the week that he was considering legal action. Now Gina Miller suggesting that if Boris Johnson doesn't rule out suspending Parliament, we're going to court again.
Sure, well, look, I'm not at all surprised because this seems to be this absolutely relentless movement to delay Brexit, stop Brexit from happening, and of course question the integrity of a government, a future government now, not the current government under Theresa May, but a future government and its new renewed determination to exit the European Union and do something that us elected politicians like myself have said that we want to do, which is to deliver Brexit.
But if it's testing the legality, as indeed was the case with the Article 50 case that went all the way to the Supreme Court, where let's not forget, Gina Miller was proved right. If it's about proving or disproving the legality of proroguing in these circumstances, what's the issue?
Well, look, I think first of all, the issue is that it's now down to members of Parliament and a new government to actually take action, not for third parties by going through the courts. And I think that's exactly how it should have been previously as well, after 2016. After the referendum, the government was very clear back then that Brexit meant Brexit and that we were going to leave the EU. Instead, we had a range of third-party anti-Brexit organisations and positions that chose to go to the court to derail, basically, the whole Brexit delivery and also to tie the hands of politicians, the government and Parliament. That is simply not acceptable. And quite frankly, the British public are sick to death of this. They want to see a government now with renewed conviction get out there and do exactly what it said it will do, which is now to deliver Brexit. This should not be about the semantics of Parliament or just votes in Parliament or proroguing Parliament. We now have to get behind a new government that is very clear in a future determination now, which is to get out of the European Union, come what may, by October the 31st.
Sick to death the public might be, but I'll say it again. Gina Miller was proved right. She won the case. There's every possibility that she could win this one. It would be proved by the Supreme Court that it is not within Boris Johnson's powers to prorogue in these circumstances. So once again, we heard all this rhetoric from politicians at the time of the last case. Isn't it time for a little bit of self-respect and self-regard on the part of politicians like yourself? You say, do you know what? Going through the courts is not anti-British, it's not anti-democratic. It's fulfilling your own. It's fulfilling an opportunity that everyone in this country has, and the courts might just agree with that again.
Well, I think it's quite important to recognise that, of course, politicians, particularly those who were elected in 2017, were elected on a manifesto and a mandate to deliver Brexit. We are the elected representatives who have that job to do, and that's the point of a new renewed government going forward, that it'll be in the mandate of the government, a government that, is determined to deliver Brexit, and it's not something that we subcontract out to the courts, basically, now, to intervene or have court judgments telling Parliament and elected politicians on what can be done and what can't be done. This will now mean that there'll be a new government, and I emphasise this again, after 3 years of stalemate, of protractedness, of absolutely going nowhere, where everybody just wanted to please each other, we have to make sure that we now deliver Brexit. We leave the European Union on October the 31st, come what may, because the public, the public that vote for us, vote for people like me, are done with this now. They want us to get on and do the job so that actually we can then get on and deliver a much bigger, brighter vision for our country and deliver on all the issues that matter to the electorate.
But if, as you and Boris Johnson have repeatedly said, we will be coming out on the 31st of October, come what may, why was it impossible for Boris Johnson to agree to resign if that did not happen? That was during the TV debates and, of course, various other hustings. Why would he not make that commitment to step down if he didn't do that which he's also committed to?
Well, quite frankly, I don't think he needs to make any commitment on that nature whatsoever, because he is absolutely focused on making sure that we deliver, he delivers as Prime Minister in a government.
No, he's told us that it's going to happen, is the point that I'm making.
This is not.
The dividing line between Mr. Hunt and Mr. Johnson. The dividing line between Mr. Hunt and Mr. Johnson, created, let's not forget, by Mr. Johnson, is that he has categorically guaranteed that we will be out on the 31st of October. If we're still in the European Union on the 1st of November, does Boris Johnson lose your support?
Of course not, because he is committed to leaving. I think everybody's missing a fundamental point and principle here, which is Boris Johnson is absolutely unequivocal about the fact that we want to leave, we should be leaving by October the 31st. This is not a case of extension anymore. We can no longer be anti-democratic and continue to kick the can down the road. Delay is defeat. It's as simple as that. We have to leave on the 31st of October, come what may. That is the law of the land. It is exactly how it's now been established in Parliament and with the EU. And so the focus has to be on finding the right type, the right process, the right agreement in terms of how we leave. And of course, it is responsible that any future government, led by Boris Johnson, concentrates on doing exactly that. It actually does the preparedness that it's required to leave on October the 31st, and at the same time, in good faith, engages in proper negotiations, considered negotiations with the EU on that whole process on leaving with an agreement as well. Boris has been very clear that he does not want to be in this situation where we don't have an agreement, and quite frankly, it'll be the job of his government to work day and night to actually get on and actually deliver that outcome so that we can leave, we can deliver Brexit, and we can leave on October the 31st.